Hello and welcome to the Comedian's Paradise. This is the podcast where we speak to comedians, promoters, radio producers, and all across the comedy world. Now, today's guest is the CEO. He's the Alan Sugar of the PBH's Free Fringe. He has a stage name of Mr. Meredith. He is a man that helps support a lot of grassroots comedy at the festival. Please welcome the fantastic, the amazing, the bountiful Luke Meredith.
Hello, you're fired. I don't know what did I say.
Sorry.
I mean, Alan Sugar, what a piss pot artist, honestly.
Sorry.
It'll work. It'll work. Yeah, I'm more one of his secretaries, I would say. What's the person with it? Karen. I'm Karen with the clipboard.
Okay, fair enough. Well,
I'm looking at everyone going, shaking my head.
So as you are the Karen of the, I don't like to say that. So, as the head honcho of the PBH, tell us a bit about like your journey into. You don't classify your comedian, but your journey into the PBH and how you've become the CEO of the PBH today.
Oh, well, I mean, sort of by accident, really. I started my first solo show at the Fringe was 2009. I did everything wrong. I went for paid venue. I took some PR out. I did all the fancy things. I took the wrong show for the Fringe. I did everything wrong, which is great because I did everything wrong in my first year. And then I thought, well, I need to get back on the horse here. And I was friends with Kate Smurthwaite at the time. Still am, very good friends. And she suggested I do the Free Fringe. And so I came up and did a show with them in 2010. Worked very well. Took a year off, got married, came back 2012. And at the end of 2012, Peter asked me we were talking about cabaret and stuff and how that was going on. And he said, well, he was trying to diversify from just comedy because he'd already done that with theatre, because Elise Harris was already taking that on, and a bit of spoken words. He was trying to diversify. And cabaret was only just starting to be recognised as something at the Fringe. I mean, it's huge now. It took us years to fight for even a section in the Fringe brochure. But, we had to go into musical theatre before. But now, we have a cabaret section, and I took on charge of booking cabaret and magic. And that's how I got in with the organisational bit of the Fringe. And then, sort of bit by bit, Peter was just really looking to, put his feet up a little bit. He still hasn't managed to. He was hoping to, he wants the Free Fringe to outlast him. So he needs people to organise it. And there's a lot of people a few people came and went who, for various reasons, couldn't take it on. And I sort of started taking on just more responsibilities here and there. And I think I sort of ended doing it by accident. And the title of CEO, I mean, we sort of chose that as a joke, really. It was a bit of a dig at the Fringe Society. It's going, well, if you could have a CEO, so can we. But it's really just it's such a cooperative sort of organisation that actually everyone does a little bit of everything. I tend to, I'll be the person that's organising stuff. I'm the organiser. As Paul Shakespeare says, you do realise you've become an organiser. What's that? And I don't know how I became an organiser, but I am. And that's how it was. And then, of course, Peter was ill for a little while, so I had to take on a little bit more of it than I thought. Various ways he's still involved. And, of course, he will be president for life of the Fringe that bears his name. But, more and more, and especially this year, we've tried to diversify, try to get more and more people involved, make it as cooperative as possible. But I'm still the CEO. I can still write the checks, and I'm one of the directors of the new charity, the Free Fringe Limited.
Okay. And with is it a bit, so with it being I've not worked with the PBH Fringe, so I don't know what it's all about. I know that there's a big division between Laughing Horse and the PBH. I don't know if we want to go into the big
Well, it's
divide.
just simple, really. I mean, the thing is that there's putting aside, if you want to read about the history of Laughing Horse and PBH's Free Fringe, and read Peter's book. He wrote a whole book about freeing the Fringe. But the main difference is we don't charge at all. We refuse to have tickets. Sometimes you can come along like an hour before the performance, just to save people queuing and down the street, so people know when they can come in. We'll do tokens, but we do not do tickets. Nobody pays for a ticket. There is no distinction between people who have money and people who do not have money, and that's the main thing. It is only a token that you pay. It's not very expensive, I don't think, for Laughing Horse. I don't think it's too much. But you also do have to pay to go into the registration, the Fringe Society, which does cost another £300 to £400, depending on whatever you're doing and whenever you book it. So all in all, you are still shelling out good 500-600 quid. And I know that doesn't seem a lot, but when you haven't got money, that is a lot. And I don't think middle class people ever quite understand that. It is a lot of money. And it's not only that, I think it's the way that the Free Fringe, PBH's Free Fringe, is organised. And I know that Dave said a bit about this. It's the fact that everybody mucks in a little bit. And so we all, I mean, I'll start from the beginning there. What you get for the Free Fringe, you get a listing in a free listing in quite a chunky, nicely designed program booklet with a little blurb and your picture, and that's free. So you don't have to register with it, and that's given out on the street by every single performer. So everyone's advertising your show. So it feels like a group effort. Do you know what I mean? It feels like what we're trying to do basically is bypass all the middlemen. So we're trying to get the word to the people in the street without having to pay for big poster sites, without having to pay for PR, for money. The word gets out to the streets. We have a free website, excellent website, designed by Nick and Dave Rubens. Nick Hodder and Dave Rubens. We've got an excellent app that crashes a lot less than the massively paid for, the massively expensive Fringe Society app. I don't believe it crashed at all this year, in fact. There were very, very few complaints about the app this year. I believe there were a lot more complaints about the Fringe Society's one that cost £500,000.
Really? That much?
I think so. Listen, don't quote me on that.
Sorry.
It cost quite a lot of money. I can't remember how much it cost. So do not quote me on that. And I'm not even sure. Yeah, I'm not even sure I'm meant to say how much it was. No, it'll be in the accounts, won't it? It's actually open knowledge. Yeah, surely. Anyway, moving on. So you get all of that basically. You get a lot, and you don't have to pay anything. Whereas I think for the other ones, Laughing Horse, you don't get a brochure unless I know G2 produced a brochure for their venue sometimes, but you don't get a brochure. You don't have everyone distributing your brochure for you. You don't have the support in the venues. We have a structure whereby everybody in a venue gets to know each other. So really helpful for those solo performers when you're on your own. You feel like you've got a bit of a support network behind you. And we have a venue captain there, so someone you can go to if someone other than the person who runs the venue, someone other than a big boss, just another performer in the venue. They're the person you go to if there's a little bit of a problem, and you try and sort it out amongst yourselves as far as possible. And so it's just a really lovely community atmosphere. It's when it works, it isn't for everyone, I guess, but I think that's the main difference. We work as a cooperative. It's not just a name, a cooperative. It's how we work. It's in the very system, and we are free, and we absolutely will always be free. We'd rather go under than not be free. Put it that way.
And what? But yeah, it's intriguing. And with the, I did hear before that in the past, like in before the Fringe got to what it is now, the free Fringe used to get a lot of reviewers in, but it just completely changed.
Well, we did. We used to get, but I mean, we still did get reviews, and of course, we got comedy awards. You know, John Kearns, Richard Gadd, they
Yeah,
got their comedy awards with the Free Fringe. Sophie, oh, the yeah, coin operated girl. Yeah, you know the word. You know, oh, you know the name
Sophie
escapes me.
Hagen.
That's it, Sophie Hagen. She got her best newcomer with us. Got we used to have lots of nominations every year. Um, but yes, it seems that for whatever reason, I would not like to speculate on the reasons why we are overlooked, because certainly the talent is there, and I know the talent is there. I know when Copstick was looking at what we got, she's just like astonished at what we the breadth of stuff that we have on, and the risks that people are taking, the real risks. And I think a lot of comedy just doesn't take enough risks these days. Well, we'll come on to that. I think the Free Fringe is where all the risks are being taken.
That is a very interesting point. Would I be able to hear a bit more about that?
Well, if you look at some of the shows that we've, things like Mark Dean Quinn's cheese eating show. It's on at what's like something like 10 to 2 in the morning, and he eats cheese for an hour. And it was a massive success. People coming in, an absolute cult success. And he's brilliant because, of course, Mark's a brilliant clown. You got Stephen Haynes doing the Ritual and the Master. We've got Kate Smurthwaite doing her drag king persona, the Milo Standards, which was so weird because they interviewed somebody that had this big feature about this other comic, a male comic who's talking about toxic masculinity and saying how it's so weird how he doesn't make these points about toxic masculinity. And Kate was there thinking, well, I am a woman talking about toxic masculinity, and you haven't even come to see my show.
Ha 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 ha.
And that really just says everything, doesn't it? Number one, against the misogyny against female comics, but of course, number two, the prejudice against free shows. It's very strange, and I do not understand it. Yeah.
Is it sometimes? Is it more? Yeah, I think maybe it's just a perception, isn't it? That they think that if someone's paid a bit more, that they don't want to take a risk going and watching something that's completely batshit crazy or
Yeah.
completely. They want to see something that's polished and
Yeah.
they don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's boring though.
Well, but these shows are polished. They are polished shows. That's different. They're just doing something different.
Let me rephrase what I said.
Yeah.
I mean it. That they want to see something that, yeah, following what you said on what you said on like people don't comedy doesn't want to take risks. What they want to see things that are safe that they think rather than things that are risky
Maybe.
as they used
I
to.
don't know. I mean, I
Is that
don't know
part
the
of it?
reasons. I don't know the reasons. All I'm saying is that from what I've seen, what we do offer, is something new, something different.
But one of the things that the myths that following on from what you said there, one of the myths that I hear a lot of from people is that you go on a Fringe to make a loss. But I hear people like Massa and Graham make a lot of
No.
make a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure.
I was going to say actually that I would say there's two sorts of shows you will get at the Fringe who are doing it successfully, who are doing it right, and that's the people trying something different, and the people coming up and doing it for the money. I'd sort of do a little bit of both, but I come from a cabaret background, and I know that there's a lot of people who do cabaret, and so there's a few of the comics as well, I think, who the Edinburgh Fringe is a big money maker for them. I would say August is easily my biggest earning month of the year.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely.
whoa. Okay, tell me about that. That's the.
Because I get because people give me people give me good money for the show that I do. Um, you know, I mean, I don't pretend I'm poor when I give a bucket speech. I don't pretend. All I say is it's free to anybody who hasn't got the money. Thank you for coming to the show. You're welcome to not put anything in. Those who can afford it, please do contribute so that the Free Fringe can keep going, and so that it makes it worthwhile for us to keep coming. And people do; they're very generous.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that because I remember in the Voodoo Rooms last year flying for what's it called? There was the redhead lady, Ivy Page,
Oh,
and then there
Ivy,
was
yeah,
the lovely lady, and there was the cabaret show after that, which I've forgotten the name of.
that was in
But
the. Those were ticketed shows, though. Those were ticketed.
but what it still follows your point in that I'm sure the amount of people they got in for their shows,
Oh
there's
yeah,
no way they didn't not make money.
yeah, yeah. Cabaret. A lot of cabaret and magic people will go. I mean, but we'll also come up with experimental shows. You know, what one of my well, one of the questions you were going to ask me is like one of my favorite performers, but that is, would you like to hear one of my favorite underrated performer?
Yeah.
Uh, Personally, it's Blodwyn.
Whoa, that's
Blodwyn.
an interesting name.
Blodwyn. Yes, her real name's Emily Davis, but she comes up and she performs as Blodwyn, this Welsh person, and she has the most unique delivery. She's cabaret and the most beautiful interpretation of songs and some lovely original songs as well. And she's terrifically underrated. Never doesn't get the reviews as she should, but she has become better and better every year, and I that is someone to watch out for. So if anyone likes cabaret and likes singing and likes a good character comic and a journey, a really thoughtful piece, honestly, Blodwen does. What's she done? Blodwen comes to town. Blodwen does Paris. New show every year as well.
But does she? Because I'm sure there's quite a lot of acts. I don't really know that much. I've been a couple of times, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of acts that they may not get awards. They may not get that. And you mentioned before our chat that awards aren't as important as used to
I
be,
don't think they are.
but they get an audience, and they've got like what's it called? Jerry Sadowitz. I know he's not for everyone's taste. I
Yeah,
know it's I found it a horrifying experience watching him perform, watching
it's
two
not
guys
my
almost getting a fight
it's
with
not
each
my
other.
sort of comic. No,
But it was an experience that I'm glad I went to go and see. But whatever you say about him, he has built a cult following through the Edinburgh Fringe. He may not get awards or any of that, or I think he has, but for the most part, he has his own fan base. And there's there are a lot of comics you know of who have done what he's done. He's not for my taste either, but
no.
what he's done is
Well,
immense.
this thing. I mean, Jerry aside, because I think there's he's divisive in different ways. But the one thing that really annoys me is people getting angry because they don't find a comedian funny, and I do not understand it. You know what I mean? Like the sort of people who will go on someone's page or go on even their own page and shout about how such and such a person isn't funny and they don't deserve to be on television. It's like, well, or have a show or or have people laugh at them. Stop laughing, everybody else, you fools. And you just go, well, you don't find them funny. Don't see them. Don't watch them. It's fine. They don't find you funny either.
Yeah.
We're all good. And it seems it is men. Of course, it's men doing it most of the time. It's a really weird reaction to moan about how something isn't funny and to get angry about it. That's why I don't understand the anger that you don't find this person amusing.
Hmm.
It's odd. Yeah, that's my bit on that.
I think there's a lot of energy that could be directed towards your act when people do that,
It
or other
probably
things.
is. Yes, yes. Yeah.
But is there any other acts that are in the PBH who have no problem getting a bit like a crowd or an audience
Oh
every year
yeah,
they
I
go to
mean
the
Dave
Fringe and they're
Annick,
brilliant at what they do?
Dave Annick does it. A lot of the magicians, basically. A lot of the magicians. You've got Dave. Yeah, you've got Charlie Caper. You got James Phelan. You've got I mean, who else you got? I mean, you've also got people like Sarah Louise Young, who is an absolute spick span cabaret artist as well. And she always tries something new with the Free Fringe as well. She somehow manages to do both. She'll try something new and she will pack the crowds in. Charlie tried something. He did an AI show with us. And yeah, it was a really interesting one. Yeah, I'm trying. Do you want to? Oh, Mark, of course, Mark Simmons. Yeah, he packs it out all the time. Tom usually does George Zakharopoulos, although yeah, he's a bit of a naughty this year. And yeah, loads. You want me to list them all?
No. But that is that in a way more important than the reviews and the 5-star things that people seem to be desperately get?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, reviews to something. Okay, reviews are quite nice to some extent. It makes it easier to write your copy. You know, if you've got a nice review and someone's written that copy for you already, great. And you can put next to it the Herald or the Scotsman. You know, I do that. I put down, quotes from reviewers. But I think people are less inclined to bother about it or to believe reviews even. Because reviews aren't what they the reason reviews aren't what they used to be is because people don't trust reviewers in the same way.
Ah,
And so you need to know a reviewer to care what they think. So you need to like go, all right, well, whatever you think about the Daily Mail, if you like their reviewer, and you know what the like Nick Curtis or something like you through the Standard, didn't they? All those, if you generally agree with what they think, that's fine. But if you don't know them, who cares?
hmm.
It's like using a Scotsman quote for Australia. So I'll put it down there, but I don't use it to sell the show.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why maybe Copstick is quite value is someone that stands out because
Yeah,
she helped.
she's
Who
got
was
a
that comedian?
voice. She's actually got a voice, and a lot of reviewers don't really have a voice. Do you understand? Do you know what I mean by that? They don't have a style. They don't have a, you don't you. I think with Copstick, if you like what she likes, then you'll go along.
Is it because she has well you're based saying they don't have yeah but I mean she's helped save that comedian Rob Granger. She helped build him into what he is now, didn't she, with that review?
Which one? Sorry, which one?
Rob Granger. He had only one audience member, and
Oh,
she wrote a review, and she sort of helped catapult him to where he is now.
yeah. I mean, it can be very useful, but like I say, it's got to be somebody. It's got to be in that place because, again, that only really mattered at the Fringe at the Edinburgh Festival, didn't it? And so, and once he was catapulted up there, then that became a news story, and then that snowballed, and then more people heard about him. And so, yes, you could say that at the Fringe, someone like Copstick's review is important. Yeah, if it's a great review, something will happen. Not always.
Hmm.
I know people who've had 5-star reviews from the Scotsman and from Copstick, and hasn't really made a lot of difference.
Hmm.
You just can't tell. It's Edinburgh. If we could all tell, we'd all be millionaires.
That's true. And we'll be writing courses on it. I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've been going up with my sing along a pub quiz and Magic Faraway Cabaret for the last few years, and yeah, they seem to work nicely. And I write new stuff for the cabaret show every year, and I write new quizzes every year and learn new songs. So that keeps the creative bit going.
How is it doing like, so you're running well, you're organizing the PBH Fringe as well, but you're also a performer there and you're running your own shows. Does that help you be a better organizer for the PBH because you're actually on foot rather than distance from it?
Um, yeah. Oh, definitely. Oh, I think performers. Yeah, we can. You can sympathise with other performers a lot more, and you've got empathise, I suppose, is a better word, with performers a lot better if you are a performer yourself. Um, I You have to have a certain shut off mechanism so that you give yourself time to do your show. So that and I learned that from Peter. He was go, no, I'm about to do my show now, so and that's it. Um, so you got to allow yourself to be a performer as well. And fortunately, like I say, because we are run on this cooperative basis, and we have the venue captains in each venue, everybody's doing their little bit to keep everything going. So I only really I can deal with things in my own time.
Can the, so one thing I noticed, and this is a personal story from my side. I remember when I was a bit younger, I went to a kickboxing club, and the teacher. This is completely off kilter, but it does relate to what we're talking about here. The the kickboxing club that I went to, the instructors didn't really care too much, and it was all about the money. But I remember a few years later, I went to a boxing club, and the trainers there were a lot more passionate about people doing better and learning how to defend themselves than the kickboxing class where they made money. And it was sort of a community thing where they helped a lot of people out in the local area, and a lot of the kids there praised like the head trainer Sid, who like he helped save their lives. And there seemed, even though they weren't getting paid a lot of money and it was run by volunteers, there's a lot more effort that seemed to go into that club than the kickboxing club I went to. Is
Yeah,
there, what is it about about the community thing that makes people
I
want to
could have a
put more
word about
effort?
martial arts clubs there. Yeah, definitely. I used to do karate, yeah, so I and train at boxing as well. So I know what you mean. But box it comes from the origins. I mean, but karate they've got a load of gradings, and so it is a money making thing. That they invented belts just so they could get more money,
Hmm.
and whereas boxing's the origins of it is like rooms above a pub. And it was always it's how poorer people could get out of poverty. Sorry, the question was how does that relate to the fringe?
Well, you said that there's community and a lot of people work hard. And it did relate to my experience that I found it quite surprising that logically, if you're getting paid for things, um, you would think that people put more effort and there'd be more passion behind it. But from what I've seen in certain things, when there's more of a community behind it, and even though they don't get paid a lot, some of these things people put more effort in, and I'm intrigued by it.
More effort into the organization or into their
Yeah,
shows, into the
yeah,
organization.
and the shows, yeah,
Oh, sorry, in the shows or organization,
organization, yeah,
right? To some extent, yes, and it depends on the person because you can have the other effect to some extent as well, where it's this weird thing when people aren't paying for something, they expect more of you
okay.
sometimes, or they'll expect what they the same as from a paid venue because they've just never worked with something like this before. And it's usually a genuine mistake. It makes people behave a bit like a dick, but it comes from a place of genuine misunderstanding most of the time and just not having come across how to work with an organization, a cooperative organization.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, most people, I would say that 90% of people in the free fringe really do get it. Probably the other 10% never do it again.
Now, another thing that was I found a really interesting chat with you before we came on the podcast is you spoke about Edinburgh Fringe accommodation, and
Oh,
that was a very interesting chat because all I hear from comedians is they're saying the accommodation is too expensive, it's too mad, and you said that there's ways around it. Would we be able to talk
Yeah.
about that?
But people think that you need to go through the official route all the time. And I suppose working the free fringe, the one thing that has taught me is the official route is bollocks. The official route will lead, mainly, the official route will lead you to spending money that you don't need to spend. So you've got to find your own route. I would just ask people, be bold. A lot of comedians are surprisingly introvertive. What's the word?
Yeah.
Introspective. I don't know. They're introverts, weirdly, and a lot of comedians they're very focused on just the job, but there's a certain amount of I think people have mentioned autistic focus or ADD, whatever you want to call it. They're very focused on the job of making people laugh. And yeah, I think sometimes that means they don't look around, and they won't ask for help, and they won't go on their. But I don't know. That's my theory, because I found that if I look on Facebook groups, look on social media, if I just ask around, one person will link to somebody else, will link to somebody else, and go, oh, I heard somebody, oh, they've got a house, they've got a flat here, they're trying to rent this. A lot of these people don't. I don't think a lot of these people want to put these on sites because it's so heavily regulated these days, a lot of the sites. And it just seems like a lot of hassle for them. Edinburgh's always worked on a handshake. If you ever actually get to the nuts and bolts of business and, organising venues, it's all done on a handshake. It's all done on all right, you did it. All right, we all right? Okay, good. And that's kind of what you need to realize when you're looking for venues. Just ask. Just ask people. There's loads of bargains around. And the annoying thing is, the more the media and to some extent the fringe of society keep perpetuating this thing about it's so expensive and quoting these prices, all that's going to do is make someone who's thinking of renting their flat out go, I'm not charging enough here. I should be charging 3,000. Well, I'll be charging that then. All that's going to do, that's what it's going to do. It's just going to drive the prices up. No, I guarantee there's nobody there looking at that going, oh, well, everyone else is charging 3,000. I'll tell you what, I'll do a bargain. No one's going to do that. The only people who will do that are the people who go, I don't want any hassle. I want. They'll offer a low rate, but they want the nicest people, and then they get the pick of people. So I'd ask around. Just ask around. That's my advice for accommodation.
So effectively, it's more comedians. Yeah, just do a lot of research and just ask around and be bold.
Yeah, you've got to work. I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. It's like what was it, Dave, who told the story about that comic? I think wasn't it? The one who said someone was saying to this comic, you do a new show every year. God, what's the secret? And he comes up to him. I'm sorry, this is repeating. So anyone is, and he says, "I'll tell you the secret. You've got a year, you lazy fuck."
Yes,
he did. That was Dave that said that, wasn't it? Yeah, I loved that, and that's the same. You've just got to just do some effort, make some effort.
And
don't just sit back and scrounge through. Don't just doom scroll through a load of housing lists.
It's what. But following on from what you said there, how do people avoid dodgy deals where you get some Del boy saying, "What, son? You're gonna get a cheap rent with me if you just pay me £300," and next minute you're in a bin.
Well, I mean that's where you got to be very careful about who's put you onto whom. Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't. Listen, I don't know. I think it's just sources, isn't it? in the end. Listen, I've been lucky. Maybe I've been lucky so far. Maybe they've all just been nice people, and maybe one year someone's going to take me for a ride. I don't know.
Hmm.
I've still never paid £3,000 for my rent.
So it's being a good judge of character, effectively.
I mean, listen, it's easier said than I'm making it sound like, oh no, it's dead easy, and I know it's hard. I know it's hard, and I know it's, and maybe I've also been lucky. There is a lot of that as well, but it, when people quote these silly prices at you, you're just going, I know that there's I know that there's other things out there. You know, when we were researching this year, there were several options
Hmm.
that weren't outrageous. You know, they were all under a couple of grand, which to me is like, okay, you know,
Yeah.
it's still a lot. It's still a lot of money for a month,
It's too
and
much.
it's still too much. But you know,
Give it a go. But for anyone that's listening right now, what's how would you describe the worlds of cabaret as opposed to comedy? And if you're going to give big advice to comedians, performers doing the Fringe, what advice would you give them?
uh, I mean, cabaret. We're brought up in a different environment. Literally, cabaret means in the room, so it means that you're interacting all the time. This isn't just like everything is crowd work. The whole fucking show is crowd work. It's not. This isn't like tell you know you people sit nicely in a row and you tell stories. Sometimes in a cabaret environment, people are having their dinner served at the same time. You've got a hen party going on in the corner. You've got people. You're having to grab attention in a different sort of way. So to some extent, I suppose the Fringe suits cabaret quite nicely in that sense, because they're not a ready-made audience.
Hmm.
I think you know a lot of people, if they go to a comedy club, it's obviously a very different environment because you've got an audience coming there who go to comedy clubs regularly. You've got a host who knows what they're doing if you're lucky. You've got you know the club knows what they're doing. They're creating an environment that is for you. You do Fringe and you have to create that environment. And cabaret people are quite used to having to do that.
Oh, okay.
So I think it suits us quite nicely that. Yeah, I would say mainly that's the thing that the fact that's the big difference, just the environments that we work in most of the time. We tend to ask for more money. I'll tell you, okay. I would say that most cabaret artists as well, and I don't mean this with any disrespect because I'm trying to choose my words carefully. They have a skill, and hear me out, because obviously all comics have a skill as well, but it's more easily calibrated. What's the word? There's a word for it. It's more objective. So it's like if you're very good at manipulating cards, you're good at manipulating cards. You know, if you're a good singer, you know, I know that that's subjective to some extent as well. If you can play piano well, if you can trapeze, if you can do all of these things that cabaret people do, you have an advantage already because you're demonstrating a skill. And because we demonstrate a skill, I think we are used to asking for more money as well.
Ah, okay.
We're used to it, you know. I would say for a cabaret slot somewhere, you wouldn't normally do it for less than 150, and that's not headliner.
Bloody hell.
We don't do £50 gigs. It just doesn't happen in the cabaret world.
Hmm.
We're used to being paid good money. I mean, we're working up against it, and it's yeah. There's basically, you know, there's fewer people who know how to play piano and sing at the same time and know all the words and everything. There's just fewer people who can do that.
Hmm.
So we were able to command that sort an actual fee. when you're doing corporate, you ask for 600, or the minimum.
What about the audiences? Are they also better and like you charge bigger tickets?
Uh, I don't think so. No, I think maybe cabaret shows are generally, yeah, generally they charge a little bit more for tickets, I suppose. Um, yeah, I mean, 12, 15, something like that. They're quite expensive to produce,
Hmm.
really. If you've got like just Steve Bennett on a stage and that's all you're having to pay for, then great. I mean, comedies are great. Like if you could get someone who can bring the people in like that, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, not Steve Bennett. I don't mean Steve Bennett. Scott Bennett. I didn't mean Steve Bennett. Oh God, Steve Bennett. Yeah, we're all paying to see Steve Bennett on a stage.
We do.
But where was it? Yeah, I don't know if there's more money in one thing or another. I don't know. I know we ask for decent wages. If I'm doing something that I like just playing and singing in a club, then it's like 100 or something. Just if it's a weeknight.
Hmm.
But that's just even so. That's plus tips and stuff. We get paid decently. But then again, we don't get the big bucks when we get into the bit. I think comedy has that extra level, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't think most people who work in cabaret. I think we aspire to a middle level. Most of us don't really go. Most of us do it for the shits and giggles.
Okay.
We're not looking for fame. We enjoy what we do.
Yeah. Isn't that pressure?
Yeah, I think comedy. A lot of comedians are hungering for the fame to some extent.
Hmm. Is there any advice you would give to comedians looking to go up the Fringe next year?
Um, do free fringe. Honestly, no, honestly, I should say, qualify that. Try to do the free fringe. I would love to be able to offer everybody who applied, well, within reason, the ones who we thought had a chance. I would love to offer everyone a slot, and unfortunately, we don't have the stages. We're under attack. Literally under attack. We have people, other organisations bribing the venues with performers' money, and then charging those performers to perform at the venues that they used to get for free. We're under attack. Make no mistake. And these people have a lot of money, and don't think they really. They make all the nice noises to the performers, and I'm sure they're very lovely and personable. But I don't think they really have the performers' interests at heart.
No.
Not if they're doing that. I think that ultimately they've got a business at heart, and they're in it for the business.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's. I remember there was. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, what was I going to say about that? Yeah, I'd love to be able to offer everyone a slot, and it's a shame that we can't. And I know that it doesn't. It's not right for everyone. There are some. Obviously, there are some plays, there are some productions which you need to have tickets for. You need to have a budget behind. You need to have all the things that the Free Fringe can't offer. We can't offer stagehands and lighting and all this sort of thing. So yes, it won't suit everyone, but I think it suits most comedians with their shows. There's some quite tech-heavy shows on this year, certainly with cues and little. We can do basic cues and lighting things and blackouts and the like in a lot of the venues. Not all of them, obviously. Yeah, I'd love to be able to, but I do think the Free Fringe would suit. It suits anyone. Like say you got Mark, who has no trouble selling out his venue. The only person who got 2 jokes in the best jokes in the Fringe. I thought they were quite good on myself, you know, as one-liners go. It's hard to do one-liners out of context, and that is what they do. Yeah, I mean, right down to the most experiment, you know, someone who's just trying something for the first time, a little student review company. I can't think of anyone it wouldn't suit, really. But the thing, I mean, the reason I'm saying that is because if you want to make money, do the Free Fringe. If you want to try something different and experimental, you are risking less if you do the Free Fringe.
Yeah.
So I can't think of a reason why you wouldn't, myself. The only people I know that the people it hasn't suited, I know there are some people who get worried. Weirdly, they say they get worried if they haven't sold tickets, if they can't see that there's tickets having been sold. Myself, I think that just protracts the worry, because all you're doing is constantly looking at whether you've sold any tickets. Whereas I just go along and go, I don't even think about it until I turn up. And then I perform to however many people are there.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter if that's, you know, in my time in the Fringe, I've performed to 3-5 people, you know. And it's been sometimes, even in my very first one where I made all the mistakes, I was very lucky. I had a terrible, terrible run. Scotsman came on my first day when I'd lost my voice. Gave me a shocking review. I would say shocking, 2 stars. I see, not even a 1 star. I couldn't even get that. And then, but on the last day, I had Scots Gay come on, and not the second to last day, Scots Gay came along, absolutely loved the show, loved me, came along the next day even, brought along a whole crew. Then they featured me in next time, and I did the Fringe, and had a great Fringe after that.
Okay.
And you know what I mean? And there were just 3 people in the audience then, so I was going off on a tangent. That was a complete tangent there. But yeah, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't do the Free Fringe myself.
And for anyone that's sort of listening in right now, how do they find out about you and the Free Fringe? And when do applications open?
Right, you go to freefringe.org, and that's very important. .org, .com and .co.uk were taken by Laughing Horse when they were part of. There's a whole history behind that with Peter. So it's freefringe.org because we are a charity and we are a non-profit, and everybody is a volunteer, and nobody makes any money out of it apart from the performers. So I don't make any money out of the Free Fringe. I make money out of doing my shows.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. We don't get reimbursed for any of the work we do. Nobody does, from the website designer. I mean, there's so many people who work on it. There was somebody who thought, I even heard that we were run by straight white old men or something. And I took that quite personally, because I'm gay, but I am a white old man. That is true. And maybe they think because me and Peter do most of the emails, but there's so many people who actually run the Free Fringe and look after it. Like, you know, people who on the programming team, there's people on the website, people on the app, people on the data thing. There's all sorts of things. Design. Anyway, yes. How do you find us? Freefringe.org. We open applications on the 1st of November, as usual, 1st of November every year. And then we make our first offers when we've got a good idea of who's applied in January. Okay. So ideally, get your application in November. You don't have to have the title of the show. You just have to tell us the sort of thing you're doing. The title's not important. That's not what... You're not selling your show to us. You're telling us what you want to do, and showing us, if we've not heard of you, please include a video link. It's very important these days. It's because we haven't heard of you, or if I don't know anyone who's, you know, by all means say a referee, someone who I might know, you know, say, oh, such and such you might know, thinks I'm great, he's recommended I do this, she's going to recommend, they've recommended. Um, but yeah, video links are really useful for us because we do look at them, and yeah, yeah, we try and do it, match the show to the venue as far as possible. If you don't get a slot, it doesn't mean we don't think you're good. Sometimes it means you're too good, and we don't have a venue that is right for you.
Okay.
So it could be that you are, but I'm going to take a mad example. Okay, Frank Skinner applies really late. The only venue we have left is Cafe Queer, which has a capacity of 15. I mean, Cafe Queer would love it. Don't get me wrong, but would that be right? Is that what Frank will be after? I don't think it would. You know, what's and that's an extreme example, but yeah, sometimes it's just not got the right plate. We just haven't got the venue for you.
Okay. Guys, that's been Luke. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys at the next episode.
Yes. Oh, and please, and if you know anyone who's got any money, tell them to give it to us. We always want money.
Please
We're a
do.
charity. No one gets any money. All right, cheers.